Good day, my friends. Welcome to today's video, and today I'm sharing with you the perfect 5-step music practice routine. Now, the best routine is the one you actually do, so you can adjust this to your particular style so that you actually enjoy it, but the most important thing is that it actually becomes part of your everyday routine. So let's start with step number 1. The first thing you need to clarify or define is your goal for music. So you need a North Star to guide you. So what do you actually want to do with music? There's no right or wrong goals or desires with music, but you should define that in some way. You could even write it down in a journal, but some examples could be, I want to be able to play and sing songs with my friends on the guitar, or I want to be able to play nasty blues solos, or I want to be able to play like this person or that person, or I want to learn a bunch of my favorite songs, or I want to learn how to play bluegrass or jazz or rock and roll. Anything will do, but clarify what you actually want, because that will determine what you actually should spend time working on. So do that now. Pause the video and just think about it for a moment and write down 1 to 3 goals for music. So moving on to number 2 is the amount of time. So I suggest all my students make a daily habit of practicing for 15 minutes per day minimum. So play the guitar every day, right? I use a 15-minute hourglass timer. I'll show you. I use one of these, but you can use any timer. This one's 15 minutes, but put in that 15 minutes every day. I put in at least an hour or more daily, but I have, lofty goals when it comes to musical development. So it depends what your goals are, but start with 15 minutes every day. Step number 3, in terms of what you're practicing, right? It's all about what you're practicing. So what do you practice? Well, that depends on your goals. Right? If you want to learn how to improvise leads over, let's say, Grateful Dead songs, if you want to play like Jerry, you should spend time learning Grateful Dead songs, learning the chords, learning what scales you can use over certain chord progressions, right? Transcribing Jerry Garcia solos, that means writing down the actual notes he's playing and kind of just dissecting what he's doing there. Any variation that helps you get towards that goal. Right? If you want to learn how to strum and sing songs, for example, you should be learning the chord patterns to songs that you want to do and memorizing them, memorizing lyrics, etc. Right? Another one, practicing rhythms, is always going to be an important aspect of any practice routine for any musical goal. And if you do lessons with me, I'll guide you through learning all the rhythms and how to practice rhythm and that kind of stuff. So moving on to step number 4 is about when you practice. So you have to slot out a time for it, or else pretty much it won't happen. For a lot of people, just other things come up and whatever. So deciding when you practice. So is it going to be in the evening before bed? It doesn't have to be the same every day. You can flow with your day, but like having a kind of a time set in place is good to help you get into the routine. So practice before bed, in the morning, after your morning routine, in the middle of the day during a break. Just kind of have a slot for that, and that'll help it actually happen every day, so that you can be diligent to actually play, or else you won't get better. So step number 5 is really important. I tell all my students to document that you actually practice. So I require my students to use a calendar, just a simple calendar. You can just be boxes with the days, and mark a little X on the day that you practiced after every practice session. So at the end of the month, you can look at your calendar and see that you practiced, see how many days you practiced. And I like my students to send a picture of your little practice calendar so that I can see how many days you practice too. And this is a form of habit tracking, which is really valuable to do, to get in the habit of doing in life, is tracking what you're doing. It helps you really just see and inspire you to play, because you want to see a lot of X's on the calendar. And if you see a lot of X's, you'll also see that you're a lot better at the guitar or whatever it is you're practicing. So if you finished your 15-minute minimum practice session, put an X on the calendar, and that's the habit you get into. The last thing is like where you're practicing. So just make sure you have a space that you can actually sit and practice and be focused, get rid of distractions, but find a space that you can practice and kind of get in the habit of being in that space when you want to play. So for me, I keep a guitar close by me. I keep it by my desk here, out on a stand so that I pick it up and I flip over my hourglass and I practice for 15 minutes per day minimum, on something specific. So it might be learning a tune. It might be practicing improvising over a tune. It might be practicing rhythm or learning harmonies to a song, memorizing lyrics, transcribing a solo, right? That means writing down the notes to a solo that I like the sound of so I can actually dissect it, or reading the tabs that somebody else transcribed. There's lots of things that I work on, but, I do work on something every day. And that's it. So there is a practice routine that you can set you up for success. So make it a habit. That's really the key, is to make it a habit of picking up your guitar and playing every day. That's what it's all about, just picking it up and playing. So happy picking, and we'll see you in the next video.